Welcome to this section of the course called Using Social Media to Build an Audience. Now, lots of people think about the social web and say, oh, it's easy. I can easily get a viral hit. Everybody's connected these days. I can just push out a piece of content and it will go everywhere. That's actually not the way that it works. When you think about traditional broadcast methods, which is, a television program went out to millions, you don't have the same idea of audience now. The audience is fragmented. The audience is made up of lots of different communities. And this is a really important point to remember. Those communities are built around trust. So previously, I might just watch a BBC programme because it's in the listings and I think, oh, it's 9 o'clock in the evening, I'll watch it. Nowadays, I'm much more likely to watch things or read certain books or click on certain articles because my friends or people in my network tell me to do so. So it's about trust. And if you're to build an audience on social media, you have to understand that and you have to become part of communities so that you can work with those communities and share content. They trust you and they're much more likely to, read what you have to say. So that's a really important point to remember. But within those communities, you have to understand how they work. So not all communities are the same, firstly. And secondly, this pyramid on the right-hand side is a really important way to think about it, which is in any community, you'll have the people who talk the most, the digital influencers. So if you take a message board, for example, the 99-1 rule means that one person might post content, 9 people might reply, but you might have 90 people who are lurking. They don't say very much. So if you take a community and it might be mums online late in the night who are desperate to get their baby to stop crying. It might be people who really care about rock climbing. It might be people who really care about each other because they live in a certain community. It might be academics who talk about refugee issues and talk online about that. It might be librarians who are very active online and connecting with each other professionally. So there's lots and lots of different online communities, and it's a case of connecting with them, but connecting with those digital influencers at the top to build trust with them and to understand the community through them. Because popularity is not the same as influence. And if we take the model on the left-hand side, A, many people say, oh, if only we got a retweet from Stephen Fry or Justin Bieber, we'd be fine. But actually, if you're talking about a very particular issue, maybe Justin Bieber's followers don't care about that issue. Whereas if you take model B, you could take somebody with only 1,000 followers on Twitter. But if those 1,000 followers are the right 1,000 followers and people who care about the same issues, then their followers are also the sorts of people who care about the same issues. So if you're hoping to really build an audience, that's how this works. It's about connecting with the right people and connecting with them around content that they really care about. Now, how you find these communities and how you find these digital influencers, there are some good tools out there. This is a relatively new one which I like called InkyBee. It is a paid-for service, but you can have a free trial which allow you to have a play around and see if it's helpful for you. But it helps identify bloggers that might be the types of people that are interested in the same issues as you. Unfortunately, there isn't a Twitter list directory. You can build lists on Twitter, and many people build lists around particular subjects. So here I'm searching for mummy bloggers, lists of mummy bloggers on Twitter. And if you look at the search bar at the top, that's how I've searched for it. Now, if you look in the resource library, I've explained how you would type that search into the URL bar. So it's relatively easy to do, and you can change mummy bloggers to whatever subject you care about. Follower Wonk is another good tool. You can search Twitter bios, which is a good way of trying to identify people. How have they described themselves in their Twitter profiles? And Social Mention is a free tool, which is actually quite powerful. You can put in any search term and it will come up with a whole range of kind of social conversations about it. But I like it because in the bottom left-hand corner where it says top users, it helps identify those people who talk a lot about a particular issue. And finally, there's a website called Upworthy that you might have heard about. It's been around just over a year, and it's had huge success in terms of basically sharing content that they haven't even made themselves. They've found, but they've pushed it out, and they've got a huge audience now. And I think one of the reasons they've been so successful is what they write here on one of their presentations. If people click and don't share, you lose. If people share but their friends don't click, you lose. Ergo, your content must be really shareable and clickable. And just this week, the social media editor for the Wall Street Journal said exactly that. She's training her journalists to recognise that if just one person reads, it's not enough. They need to share what they're reading with their networks and their communities. So once you've got that audience, keep them engaged, listen to them, ask them what they want, give them what they want, engage them in ongoing conversations. Identify those communities and become part of those communities, and keep listening to them and talking to them and become part of that community. Don't assume that you can parachute in and get the benefits. To build an audience takes time, but once you have that audience, you can nurture it, and it can become incredibly powerful.